making Culinary Ash. For those that you don't know about Culinary Ash, I will have a blog that will explain it a whole lot more. But basically, it's an indigenous way to make our food not only more nutritious and taste better, it also helps us to break down corn and beans, because as you know, we don't always use all of the nutrients in corn and beans. So our indigenous ancestors knew this and found a way to make us be able to use everything. So you can use ash made out of everything pretty much, but the most common are juniper berries, cedar, sage, rose hips, and corn. And for corn, you can use the corn cob or the corn silk or even the husk. Today, we are going to make juniper berry culinary ash. So juniper berries, I just gather on my own, but I think you can order them online if you don't have a juniper tree that you can go harvest. And they're just little hard, kind of like an indigo to black, purple color of berry. Kind of hard. They smell like heaven. They smell like pine sap, really strong pine sap. So the first thing we're gonna do is I put it in a mortar and pestle, and we're just gonna crunch them up a little bit. They're not completely hard and dry, so they're a little mushy, not mushy. They're not hard and dry to where they'll just turn into dust. So we're just gonna break them up a little bit so that they're easy to roast. Okay. And then I like to use a cast iron skillet. I already have some juniper berries ready to go in here. I like to use a cast iron skillet, but you can use anything. But I really prefer cast iron. Now, some indigenous people will use, wrap it in tin foil and then put it out in a fire. Or you can bake it in the oven. What are some other ways? That's about all I know that I can think of. But you can also do this outside where it's the air is well ventilated, because it will smoke a lot. So make sure all of your windows are open and you have a fan, or the better alternative is to do this outside. I have tons of windows and a fan, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this inside. So it's in the cast iron. We're just gonna turn it up to high. And stay close, don't leave it, because it's going to you want it to char to make ash. So we kind of want to set it on fire. So don't leave it. Okay. And then every once in a while, I use a silicone grip, but whatever works for you to protect your hand, and we'll just shake it. Okay, so do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so it's starting to smoke a little bit. So when it starts doing that, you want to make sure, again, that you've got good ventilation, and start shaking it a little bit more. You'll be here for, it's about a 20-minute process usually. Okay, so pretty smoky. It's just about done. I think it's just about done because everything is pretty much blackened and ashy. And that's really what you want to get it to. So I'm gonna probably 30 more seconds, and then I'm going to turn the heat off, make sure it's moved by a fan, and let it cool. So it's cooled down enough that it's not smoking anymore, so we can safely say it's done. So we're going back to the mortar and pestle. Now I've got a paintbrush, and that just helps me keep the ash where I need it to be. It's also going to let me make sure I get everything from the pan, because we want all of the ash. That was the whole purpose. So I just sweep the sides. And then make sure that's in the mortar and pestle. Then you just get busy grinding, and it's a lot easier this time because it's all cooked down. And you want to get it fairly fine, nothing like, you know, getting a chunk of ash. So you're going to get it down as fine as you can. And then we'll even sift it farther. So now I have just a container and then a smaller sifter. We're going to pour this into the sifter. And then we're going to slowly and gently work through as much as we can. And then return the chunky parts back to the mortar and pestle. And we'll just do this back and forth until everything is crushed and sifted. Okay, now back to the mortar and pestle. Back to the sifter. And then back again. Your hands will get a little bit dirty through this process. It's all right, it's part of the process. And then back to the sifter. Now it's all pretty much done and super fine. So I'm going to be very careful and transfer it to, I just keep these in little jars, but you can keep it in any airtight container. And the recipe that I'm using for next week, it calls for about, a quarter to a half a cup of juniper ash. So we should just have enough. If not, now you know how to make more. There we are. Look at that. Beautiful. So now we have a jar of juniper ash for culinary reasons. Beautiful.